Hello, hello. We are going live today with Rain, a wonderful OBM, and we are going to talk about her journey from moving from the TVA, my signature program, to the mastermind, and her growth in general, like hitting her first $5,000 month after TVA to now being on her journey to six figures. So I'm just going to let her in just a moment so we can ask her some fun questions. Happy Friday, everyone. I feel like this week went by so fast. I cannot even believe it's Friday. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my week just escaped me. Does anyone else feel that way? I'm gonna see how we. There we go.
Hello.
Hi, I could not figure out how to let you in for a second. I feel like they changed the lives. Like, do I have to invite you now?
I think so. I was gonna request too, and then I was like, I think it'll be fine.
Simi said this week was long. I feel like Simi, my week just all of a sudden it was Friday. I don't even know what happened this week. But yay, I'm so excited to have you here. So I just want to ask you a few questions about all of the offers that you've been in with me and just your experience, because I know you've worked with like quite a few different coaches and stuff and allowed yourself to jump around, which I think everyone should do. I've done the same thing, but overall, just kind of sharing about your journey from TVA. So I think that you were in the first or the second round of the Visionary Accelerator. If I remember correctly, it was the first round.
Uh-huh.
And so that was in 2021, late 2020, or no, early 2021. And since then, you now have joined the mastermind. You've done hypnotherapy with me. You've done all of the things. So I have obviously evolved TVA a lot since you were in that round of the program. We've added in a lot more mindset coaching. We've added in a lot more hypnotherapy and one-on-ones even. And so it's evolved a lot. The portal has grown exponentially, but I think it is interesting to have you join to talk about, being in that first round. Obviously, like, I'm a better coach now. I've evolved a lot since then, but just, you've mentioned to me that TVA really was the foundational program for you to hit $5,000 months. And that was one of the major reasons, like, you came back to work with me in scaling, was to have both the strategy and the mindset. So I'm just curious if you could talk a little bit about, like, as much as you remember, since that was so long ago, your experience with TVA and really just how that set the foundation for you to be at the place that you're at now, or at least to the first $5,000 months. I know I have like a screenshot testimonial for you where you're like, you really are, the person that has all these walking $5,000, per month testimonials around. So I think it would be cool to just hear from you what that looks like for you and your experience.
Yeah. Well, I was so scared to join TVA, and I think it was the first round. And because when I joined, there wasn't even hypnotherapy in it. Like, that's how early it was. And so, but regardless of that not being included, I think that it was foundational in the sense that, like, first of all, I was going from VA to OBM slash like tech VA, and learning those skills. Like, I had wanted to work with clients at a higher level, because at first I was doing like social media tasks, or I was getting sucked into lead generation when I didn't want to do cold DMing and get people on sales calls. I was doing like, random things that got my business off the ground, but it was time to do things that would make my business support me exponentially. And so I feel like TVA was the foundational program, because I learned brand new skills, like with Kajabi and, I mean, Dubsado. I mean, there's everything in that portal. And there were so many like guests that came in to learn different skills about calendar management and just all of the things. And so that's why I feel like it was really foundational for me. And I remember joining, and this is like so scary, but so many unaligned clients left me, and I was like, holy shit, what am I gonna do? But it was the best thing that could ever happen to me. And I always say that when you join Addison's world, like life is going to change in the best way possible. And it's going to take you for a whirlwind, but it's going to be the best whirlwind ever. And that's a huge reason why I joined the mastermind as well. Cause I was like, if I want stuff to blow up, like I'm going to go with Addison. Like I just know that it's going to change. So
Yeah, I think that you brought up some good points as well too, because when I first launched TVA, so for those that don't know, when I first launched TVA, it really was a program to transition VAs to OBMs because I learned a lot in that process as I was scaling my online business management business and working with coaches and really high level coaches as well too. So it started that way and then transitioned into really what you said, which is the foundations to hitting $5,000 months. But I think the thing that's really that has been like really really important to me is that when you join that program, not only like do you have the portal to continue to come back to, but also that you're learning skills that will take you to every level in business. So like effective time management, like handling difficult clients, like okay, what do I do if all of a sudden I lose a client? Like how do I handle these conversations, because it's going to happen, you know, or what do I do when a client is going beyond my boundaries or like is trying to get me to work 24/7 or messaging me on weekends, or you know, how do I set up my schedule in an effective way so I actually feel like a CEO. So I remember one of the things that we implemented for you was like always having Wednesday as a CEO day. I think that has literally been since that time period, and you've had that since then. So like you never work on Wednesdays, which is so cool. And so really creating like those foundations that are still in place at this point. And I think then on top of that, even you know, going beyond what you said as far as like things being a whirlwind and stuff, I do notice that when people come into my space, there are a lot of pivots that happen. There are a lot of, you know, things that change, and that really is just because when we're doing the mindset work, we allow ourselves to make those changes and we're not fearful of making those changes. And so whether that is transitioning into like the OBM role or deciding, you know, I've had a lot of clients decide to add like coaching services into their offers or pivoting into a completely different role from like VA to website designer. Like we've had like massive transitions. And I think the reason for that, like I always say that a lot of us came into the online space a little bit backwards. Like we didn't have a passion that we like then turned into a business. Like a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I'm like the best nutritionist, I want to start a business to help women do XYZ thing. We're coming in it backwards. We're like, I want the freedom, and so I'm going to do whatever it takes to like start the business to create the freedom. But you don't initially like often know what is really going to light you up. So something that we do in TVA as well too is like auditing all of those pieces to make sure that you're aligned with, and I don't love using the word alignment because I'm not an alignment coach, but to make sure that you're actually happy in your business, that you're falling back in love with your business while hitting those income goals, while like feeling like you have sustainable foundations and you have the skills and tools to like sign clients on repeat and stuff. So I am curious because my framework for TVA, which is like very foundational versus the mastermind, is different, although some of it overlaps. And I am curious, like from your perspective, as you've moved into the mastermind, have you noticed a difference in like the conversations being had and stuff like that? And then also like for someone that is trying to hit their first $5,000 month, I know I have a lot of people in my audience that have shared that are around like $2,000 to $3,000, but they are feeling like really fearful of, because when you're hitting that amount in your business, it's like, okay, well, if I spend $300 to $700 on a month on a payment plan for a program, even if that is going to get me to the next level, there's a lot of fear initially. I think we've all felt that early on in our business. So like how you moved through that fear too and knew that it was the right decision for you.
Um, yeah, so the conversations, so that's like a two-parter, like the conversations that are being had in the mastermind versus what was happening in TVA. I don't even remember if there was like a group chat in TVA the first round. Because right now we have Slack for it, but I think that it was just that one-on-one support. And we had the group calls, which is where we were getting support mostly. But it's not that it's less of a community, but it was more so like everybody's kind of not getting their business off the ground, but there's so many more of those foundational pieces, like you mentioned, like boundaries and like what happens when you lose a client and like signing a new client. I remember coming to you with so many proposals and being like, please help me with these proposals. I don't know how to sell this to my client now. And so those sorts of things are what you're talking about. And it's crazy to look back because I look at like those videos or those call recordings and I'm like, wow, that was so long ago. And now in the mastermind, what we're really talking about is like, I mean, for me personally in my journey, I think I've just grown up so much as a woman. I've just become, I mean, now I'm 22 versus being 19 and 20 running the business. Now I'm, heading to 25 and becoming more of a young adult. And so like those conversations to me look really different. Like we're talking about, like all of the girls are supporting with their own expertise. So we're talking about branding, we're talking about hiring, we're talking about like bigger business boundaries, like growing to 10K and further. And so like I'm grateful to be at that point now, and that's kind of how it's different. But the fear around investing, I don't think ever goes away. I think that um, TVA, I waited a long time. I didn't wait very long. I had a few conversations with you and I was like, I really need this. And I remember when I made the decision. And I also remember telling Carlos, my husband, like, I'm so scared, but like, am I crazy to do another program? Like, I just got out of a previous program. Like, is this crazy for me to do this? And he was like, if you think it really will really help you, and if you trust yourself to fully put all of your energy in, then go for it. Like, nobody can take away your effort from you, no matter how much you're putting into something, like how much money you're putting down, but more so what the effort is that you're going to put into it. Like if you're going to buy at $100 jacket, you better wear that jacket every single day you can. It's like kind of the same mindset I had towards it and still do have towards it. When I invested in the mastermind, I waited a long time. There was like logistics to figure out and just like where my energy was at and all of those things. And now I don't even like the payment comes out and I'm like, cool, it came out. Really? Did it come out? I can't even tell. Like there's just so much less, and that's kind of how I felt about TVA too. Once I was making the payments, I was like, well, I'm already doing it. I'm literally doing it right now. So that's kind of like, I don't know if that answers.
Yeah, no, definitely. I also want to kind of think about or have a conversation about some of the things that we shifted in TVA because when you started talking, I was like, oh yeah, when you came to me like and started TVA, you were very much so like general VA, which is not bad at all, but you were doing a lot of things that you really didn't like and you were really desiring. I think if you hadn't already kind of worked as an OBM or had some clients that were a little bit like more so overseeing versus like managing, but I do remember specifically having conversations around you doing stuff with clients in regards to like social media, and you were doing engagement and some sales conversations for people, and you really like you hated that. So I kind of think you're like laughing, but I kind of think of like TVA as really just being more of, I mean, we've said it a million times, but the foundations where we're looking at every aspect of your business in that way. So we weren't just saying like, okay, how do we attract an OBM client now? We were cleaning up stuff with your current clients. We were like refining your packages with current clients. Like, how can we, refine this to make it okay for you right now without like losing all of these clients? But then, some of them did end up going away anyways. But then we were also like looking at your social media and like that being set up for success. We were looking at your client experience and like that being set up for success. We were looking at so many pieces, and then your mindset and like how you felt as an OBM. But then on top of that, also looking at like OBM skills, since I myself have been an OBM as well too, and I was actually working as one at the time. There are so many trainings, like you said, in there around Kajabi, Thrivecart, even now, Flowdesk, like so many different trainings, Dubsado. So you were really able to not only like hone in on the skills to be a good OBM, but also like we were doing all the structural changes in your foundations to allow that to happen. And so I think it was shortly after TVA or around the time that we ended. You actually ended up re-signing boxer coaching for me, and I think it was around that time that you hit your first $5,000 a month. And now it's crazy to see, like, that was in late 2021, that you just posted in the mastermind chat recently that you have officially hit 6 figures in sales in your business, which is like a huge, huge, huge celebration. And I think that it's just like, it's really cool. And I would love to hear, like, in your words, because obviously, like that, like you said, you put in or get out what you put into a program. And I'm never going to take responsibility for your transformation or anything, but I would love for you to talk about, like, why you feel like having mentorship or having someone highlight those gaps early on in TVA versus like now where you're scaling, to the next level in your business. We're talking about team members, we're talking about agency, we're talking about like, what is the next step for you? Like, obviously we're that's still in the works, and I don't want to like spew all your fun business things we're planning, but like there's so many more like higher level conversations happening. And so I think for a lot of people, they kind of think, oh, I can just, skip, I don't know what I'm trying to say, just like float by in business without a mentor. But I think that you've seen like exponential success, even in the level of clients that you're working with right now is really, really, really cool to see. And I would just love to hear from you, like, what you think the partnership with mentorship has allowed you to do. And I don't mean just with me, but I just mean in general, because I think that there's so much, you know how much I love mentorship, and like you just can't always see your own gaps. So even with little conversations like hiring, how nice it is for you to have that conversation and have someone that's been through it. I would just love to hear from like your perspective for anyone that is on the fence and is like, no, I can do it myself.
Yeah, this is so fun. And also, Simi is so sweet. Thank you for applauding me. But I think like the difference. So when I was in TVA, I remember like texting you when any small inconvenience was happening. I was like always seeking guidance and support. I feel like I absolutely needed that in the beginning. Like there was no way to get to a higher level in my business without knowing what to do in certain situations. Like I needed help with the proposals and all of those things. Like that high level touch support was just extremely crucial. And having a partner in that sense, like I wouldn't be where I am today without TVA, and I wouldn't have learned any of these skills. And we were talking a little bit about worth. Like I was also dealing with the fact that like I had a client fire me because I didn't get her enough sales calls booked in her DMs, and I was like, okay, whatever. But like dealing with the worth of, oh my God, I didn't do that right. Like I didn't do enough there, when really it just like wasn't my zone of genius. And that, there's a lot of other logistics and factors and marketing and things like that that happen. It wasn't just me. And so like the worth and the mindset piece, and like remembering of like, okay, this is the goal, this is the vision of what I wanted to create, who I wanted to serve, and all of that. So without the specific guidance on those things and the partnership in that, I wouldn't have even identified that those were wants or desires, or like where my zone of genius was. So I'm really grateful for TVA in that sense. And I mean, now having partnership. So if I get really real about things, all of 2023, I didn't hire any mentors. The only thing I invested in was maybe like a few $100s in hypnotherapy. I if I When I did hire mentors, I didn't have like fantastic experiences with them. And also 2023 was a year that I lost my mom and my grandpa within 6 months of each other. And I had decided like I'm just gonna do this on my own. Like I don't have the money. Like I'm just gonna, if I did, I just didn't want to spend it on anything. I was like, I just rather be pocketing more money right now. But I mean, there's a season for everything. But I am so glad that I made the decision to jump in this year, because it's just such a different energy. Like, again, it's that motivation, it's that fire under you, that when you are putting your money into something, you're also putting your energy into it. So I'm like, if I'm going to buy this mastermind, like, I'm going to be in it, I'm going to be doing it. And that's how I feel every time I make an investment. Like, if I'm going to buy hypnotherapy, I'm going to listen to the audios all the time. Like, there's just no point in not doing that. And I had to really come to terms with the fact that, even though I had been not burned, but just haven't had the most incredible experiences with mentors and everything like that, I had to come to terms with the fact that like I know when I'm with Addison, she is an incredible coach. She does all of these things for me. Like even just in the way that you ask questions and identify things, it's like, okay, I know I want that energy, and like diving into that. So yeah.
Well, would you say, because I think you shared with me when we were talking about the mastermind, one of the, and even TVA, like one of the major reasons you wanted to work together was my focus on, like, obviously I'm spiritual, and I focus a lot on mindset, but I'm also very practical. I'm not just like, okay, we'll manifest your next client. Like, we're going to talk about the strategy and map that out too. So what would you say, like, has been the most impactful for you, like combining those two, or having like someone in your space that's like, okay, we can map out a marketing strategy, but also like, let's look deeper at this. Like, why is this, fear coming up, or why are you doubting this next level?
Yeah.
Or if you even have specific examples of things you want to
Yeah,
share.
I was just gonna say, even on our like we got like a 90-minute audit call. Like even on that, not only did we talk about like the mindset around the next level that I wanted to be at, but we mapped out like all of the income goals. And then I like left with action steps. I was like, okay, like I need to up my contracts and like change those. I'm going to create like a document of like expectations for my clients. And then we talked about when my rates are raising and all of those things. And so even leaving with like that very strategic mindset of like, okay, this is exactly how I'm going to get to the next level. I feel like nobody had really done that before for me. I would like brain dump and say, okay, I really want to create passive products, or I want to hire a team, or I want to do this or this. I just don't know how. They would be like, yeah, you could do this, this, and this. But it was never like, okay, to get to where that is, first of all, like identify exactly what the goal is. And then here's the next steps. You have to start with these little micro pieces. And I feel like you're really good at pointing out the micro pieces, like updating the contracts. Like I would not put that as a priority in my head to get to the next level. I would put getting another client as the priority or whatever. And so I think that's really impactful. And then like also I've come to you for like mindset around healthy habits, like the fact that I have never ever 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 had good hygiene in my life, which is so embarrassing, but traumatic childhood, I didn't learn hygiene. And like even just having that, I wake up in the morning, I eat breakfast finally, and I read a little book to myself, and I do my hypno, and I brush my teeth, and like those things are so impactful to creating like the different kinds of foundations. It's still foundational, but it's like this is a new level of, again, like becoming a woman and becoming the CEO that I've always wanted to be, and like being able to look up to myself or like my future self. And so those are like specific examples of things that we've worked on that are mindset but also strategy, and how they've combined to like keep the momentum going. So.
Yeah, a lot of the like healthy habit stuff we've targeted directly in hypnotherapy as well too, which I think that's such an important topic of conversation, because I think a lot of times, I mean, like you said, your first thought of, okay, how do I make more money, or how do I hit this next level in my business is, oh, I'll just sign another client. But you're not taking into account, when you're doing that yourself, like all of the pieces that come into play, that also need to shift in order for you to do that safely and without burnout, and to have the boundaries set in place so you don't just lose clients, and to also feel like confident in doing so and taking care of yourself. So there's, yeah, you could sign another client, but if you're already not taking care of yourself and you're already overwhelmed, are you going to provide like the best experience for that client? So I love that you brought that up, because I think just in general, my coaching is very holistic in the sense of like, we also do something that I call conscious living challenges, where we're looking at different aspects of your business where you can actually take like better care of just you as the CEO. Because I always say, like, if you're taking care of you, and you taking care of your health, and whatever that means for you, that doesn't mean you need to wake up at 5 a.m. and work out for 15 hours, but like whatever that means for you, is one of the best money generating activities. Because when you're regulated, and this is like obviously based in like neuroscience and just science and physiology, but when you're regulated, when you're taking care of yourself, when you've fed yourself, when you feel good, you're more creative. You have the ability to hold more capacity with clients. You have the ability to show up, with better energy. There's so much that comes with that. And so in general, in both TVA and the mastermind, we're not just looking at like, okay, let's sign the next client, let's get this next money win, like how fast ask, can I help you hit, this crazy income goal just so I can post it on my stories? It's like, no, I actually want to change like who you're being behind the scenes as a human. Like business is not easy. And so a lot of people get stuck in the trap of not eating until 3 p.m. and like not taking care of themselves. And I've even been there before, scrolling all day and then feeling like their mental health is terrible. Like there's so many things that come up. And so how can we actually shift those things as well too, to provide like the freedom that you actually want? And when I think of freedom, I don't just think like, oh, I can buy whatever I want. I think health freedom. I think the ability to take care of myself. I think freedom from, schedule and time freedom, right? To, I also think like freedom emotionally, and the ability to like handle and take control of my emotions. I think of like just every aspect of my life. And so I love that you brought that up as well too, because that is something that we focus on if that's important to you, or you feel like you do need to create better habits, or even just small things like you want to wake up earlier or whatever. Like that's something that we look at as well too. So I love that.
Yeah, I was gonna say too, like, I keep telling like friends and family, I'm like, I'm just happy. Like, this is so weird, but I'm just so satisfied and happy with life. And I'm like, I don't have, obviously, I'm working towards things, but my goal for 2024 has been sustainability, and it still is. But like, we've been able to identify gaps and move towards those things, and I feel so proud of like those like achievements, and there's like really no struggle to be working towards the life that I want to live. And so I just wanted to mention that, and also wanted to go back a little bit to what we were talking about before about like why mentorship is important. And I forgot to mention that like I did most of 2023 on my own, and something I have on my website is you can do anything but not everything. But for whatever reason, I wanted to prove to myself last year that I could like do it on my own. And I don't know what that was, but I was like so set on like, I'm going to do this on my own. Like I'm going to scale and grow on my own. And I had like a really good year. I mean, it was close to like 80,000. And so that's huge, but also like I hated doing it on my own. Like it was 10 times harder than it should have been. And that's why this year feels so easy. I'm like, duh, because I have support, because I have like people in my corner. And so I just wanted to mention that also.
Yeah, I think there's a time and a place for everything. Like sometimes, it's nice to take a break if you feel like you're like dependent on having a mentor. I've definitely done that, but I totally hear what you're saying there. So I guess I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I would love to hear, like, because you were in TVA and went through the program yourself, if anyone is like thinking about it but isn't quite sure if they identify or are in the right place to do it, maybe you could just give people some identifiers of like, okay, yeah, you should reach out to Addison and have a conversation if this is where you're at and this is what you're really desiring. I know like even at the time you were struggling with boundaries, I think you were a little bit confused because you didn't have a plan. Like you said, we make sure that you have a very clear cut plan and plan of action when you're working with me. So anything like that where it's like, yeah, I identify with that and I want to hit, $5,000 months or, grow beyond that, but I know I need the foundations.
Yeah. I want to answer Simi's question too, but I'll answer this one first. What I was experiencing was like I was completely burnt out because I was doing stuff that I didn't like to do. I was also burnt out because I had zero boundaries around clients. I had a client texting me at 5 p.m. on a Saturday night, and I was jumping into work for her. And again, that's work I didn't like to do or enjoy doing, so I hated it even more. I would pretty much every day wake up and kind of dread jumping into business. Like I just didn't want to do it, and I didn't know what the next step was. I was like, well, like, is this why I created my business? Like, is this what everybody was so excited about? Like, I'm so confused. And so I was definitely struggling with that, boundaries, pricing myself. And then when it came to like learning a new skill, I didn't know about Kajabi. I didn't know in the back end. So that's like countless of hours that I saved by just being able to watch the training and be like, oh, totally. That's so like intuitive. I can totally do it now. And that gave me so much more confidence to go into sales calls and be like, yeah, you use this, or this. Like, yeah, I know how to do that. Even if I didn't know, I knew there was a training for it. So I was like so much easier able to sign clients like that as well. I also struggled signing clients. Like I would just pick one up here and there, but but actually like when I said intentionally I wanted to sign a client, for whatever reason, like the universe broke and I don't know what happened. And so coming across that of like, okay, well, booking discovery calls and what that process even is. I didn't have a process. Like I was working with a friend of a friend, or I met someone on Facebook groups or whatever. And so even getting more concrete and clear around that too. I also feel like I was really struggling with my worth and what this business was going to be for me long term. And I think that TVA was the program that showed me what a passion could look like, having a passion could look like. So yeah, I think those are kind of the identifiers of like what I was struggling with. And I think another thing too was like making my own decisions. I didn't understand that. And there were a lot of times where yes, I needed your guidance, but there were other times where you pushed me to, use my own guidance and my own intuition and come back to you when there was like a decision made or something, and like talking through that. So I think that was really important too in like becoming a CEO, and like taking this not just as I started this for fun so I could make money after the pandemic. It was like, okay, I started this now because I'm building a brand and a company and like a passion. So I think that was really crucial too. But I can answer Simi's questions too. Um, so the sweet spot. Okay, so how many clients do you find is a sweet spot for you? So right now my capacity is 4 max OBM clients, and I do full-time OBM packages with them. So I don't like count hours or anything. I just do retainer packages and I'm there as much as I need to be. And so like 4 is the absolute max that I can handle. I've been kind of playing with capacity this year since I felt a lot more sustainable, but I currently have 3 full-time OBM clients. I have a 4th one on like a really small package. We do a little bit hourly work, and then I have 2 projects finishing up and I have 1 project starting. And I do like guest consulting on a monthly basis. So there's like a lot of moving parts right now. But I love it. So it doesn't feel like draining at all. I have the right clients in my business. And currently, I mean, I've been on a lot of calls recently. So how many hours a day do I typically work? It kind of depends on the day and like what's going on in businesses. I probably work, I mean, it's not like the best, but I probably work like 5 to 8 hours a day, but I'm off on Wednesdays, and I don't work on the weekends. So I'm kind of in a lot, but I choose to be. I could at any time like lower the workload. But like I said, I just really enjoy what I do. So probably around 5 to 8 a day.
Something also that I think is really cool is just the conversation of hiring and how we're going to continue to like take you away from some of those hours and cut down the call times and stuff like that. But I think the other thing I was just thinking about as you were like talking through that is that it is really cool, even like when I think you were by yourself and you didn't have a mentor, and like, obviously we still talk all the time because we're friends too, but just like hearing your business growth, I think is really cool to see, because for the most part, like the foundations around like time management and boundaries and like how to be a good OBM and your systems and stuff like that all was the foundation that you built in TVA. So you're able to kind of play with that capacity. Do I want to work a little bit more? Do I want to work less? Okay, now we're at the next step of like having those larger conversations of how can I take myself out of this to continue to make more. So it is really cool to see that as well too. I remember, for me, one of the reasons that I created TVA was because no one taught me how to set boundaries, and now I'm like the boundary queen. Like the number one thing that all of my clients say to me when we, stop working together or whatever is like, you're the one who taught me like how to set boundaries and how to feel like regulated and set in that. And I think when we think of boundaries, it's like such a boring conversation, but then when we're having the conversation of like capacity and how many clients and how many hours you work, it's like that really sets you up for profitability. Having the boundaries and having those foundations sets you up for profitability and sets you up to not be overwhelmed and to feel really sustainable in your business. And so it is really cool to see just like that transition, even where you are now, where you're like, yeah, I can choose to work 5 to 8 hours or, whatever. And there's always like moving pieces in that. And you have a lot going on and a lot of cool opportunities as well too. But I think that's amazing because you also feel like a CEO, like you actually feel confident in what you're doing, which I love.
Yeah, constantly go back to foundations from TVA. Like it, there's not even a word for how life changing it was, truly. Like it was the catapult into anything that I do now. It was like I can sign higher level clients. I knew exactly how to do those things. I knew, like, leaving it, I have left with so much. And now there's like even more in the portal. There's even more hypnotherapy. Like, I can't imagine what if I took TVA now and I was at the level I was at, like how much it would change my life. I can't even imagine what that looks like, because it would just be insane. But I constantly go back to the foundations that I learned there, and just like the tool. I mean, and it's things that stick with you. It's like, okay, well, if you learn time management and you learn how you like to manage your time, and you practice that, and like you learn the tools and strategies, well then, okay, you're never really going to lose that skill. It's only going to continue to refine and get better. And that refinement process is so much faster with a mentor like yourself, and also, with the tools that you teach. So yeah, I always go back to those things.
Yeah, I love that. And I love just that conversation too, because I've always said my goal with TVA. I mean, I've ran it for so many, over 7 rounds, like almost 3 years now. I've taken so many women through the program, and my goal has always been like, I want you to succeed with or without me, whether you continue to like work with me, whether you come back to me down the line, which now, we have 3 or 4 girls in the mastermind that have been in TVA at different points. So that's awesome too, because you guys have built relationships. But I want people to be able to take away that portal and take away our time together and say, okay, now I feel confident doing this on my own. Like, I don't need to have someone that's going to tell me exactly what to do, because I've like owned that power within myself, my decision making. I trust myself. I trust my ability to sign clients. And because that's invaluable, then you're spending, $3,000 to $4,000 on a program that is literally going to help you create 6 figures on repeat. So I love that you brought that up. I don't ever want people to feel like, oh, I'm not going to succeed if I don't have Addison. Like, I want the hypnotherapy and the strategy aspect to give you that confidence that you don't need me. And I think you've definitely proved that, especially having, such an awesome year being by yourself, as much as like it is nice to have support and community.
Mm-hmm. And even now in the mastermind, it's a bit of a different vibe, because there's only one-on-one support on the calls, and then like, there's one day in Slack where it's like fully one-on-one. But even just being in like the group chats and everything, and being supported by that community, I know we're not talking about the mastermind right now, but that's even a different level of support, is like so much more of a testament to the fact that, oh, I thought I was going to need Addison so much, but turns out like I just needed this community. I just needed to be in this energy, which is interesting too, because it's even more of like, okay, I didn't really, she's already taught me so much that I can still continue to refine and use. So I think there's that aspect as well too.
Yeah, and that's a major reason why the programs are set up so differently. And I've, refined it over time, even since you were in it. Obviously, from the first round, we've changed a lot, but in TVA, people get a lot more one-on-one support, access to me, and one-on-one messaging versus like just the group mastermind chat. Because when you're at that point in your business where you haven't hit your first $5,000 month, or you're still figuring things out, or you're like, what do I actually like want to do, or how do I want to pivot, or what do I want to change? It's like, you can't do that just showing up to a group call. Like, yeah, we can do a lot on a group call, but there's also going to be like very minute things and things to work through at that point, because you probably haven't run a business before. You probably have no idea what the frick you're doing. Like, you're coming at it from square one. So the one-on-one support is important, versus like coming into the mastermind where you have that foundation built. You don't need me to, walk you through how to show up on social media every day. Instead, it's like we're having those higher level conversations, which we can mastermind on. So I think that's also really cool to think about as well too, just for those that are even on the fence or thinking about TVA. Like, I'm not just bringing you into a group program and I'm like, okay, hands off, like watch things in the portal. Like, we're giving you monthly plans. We're, auditing every aspect of your business and giving you, very strategic like moves to make, so you know exactly what to do to like make your business sustainable. Like, you know, we're walking through your marketing strategy, we're doing all of that one-on-one on calls, but also the access to me and the messaging. You could literally message me all day every day, basically one-on-one. It's like having, you know, me one-on-one as a coach, but then only paying $3,000 for a group program, or 3,333, whatever it is. So I think that that's important too. And the reason that I do that is because I know what it feels like to be, you know, at that level where you really just you don't know what you don't know. So you need the support, and you need someone that's also going to hold you accountable, someone that's going to like see in you what you don't see in yourself, and also will check in and have those conversations with you. So
I remember feeling bad and being like, I message her so much, but I just genuinely needed it. Like, I was like, okay, I don't want to send this out yet because I really want her opinion on it because I just want to make sure I'm doing it right. Like, that was very much the vibe. But without that, without like learning, okay, well, she set it up like this, she did it like this, so that means that like I can take it and make it my own. Like, without having that, I mean, I don't know where I would be. Like, that definitely, that higher touch support and at the TVA level is crucial. Like, I remember using up your Voxer. Like, I was in there every day.
yeah, yeah. And it is funny how you feel bad when you're newer in this versus now when I have a mentor, I'm like, I will blow you up. But
You can have your
I'm
boundaries. I'm gonna go ahead and message you a whole bunch, and you let me know when you can respond.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, it is crucial at that point. And I think you also said something along the lines of like, okay, she did it this way. I think it's also important to note that I'm not only taking like my own experience as an OBM and as an OSP and bringing that into the space. Like, there are a lot of coaches that coach OSPs that have not had that experience, have never been an OSP, and it's a very different way to scale and grow your business because you are trading time for money as an OSP. It just kind of is how it is, versus like, I mean, even as a coach, like my calls are, you know, me trading my time for money. So there, we have to get beyond that. Like, how do I implement everything in order to scale? And so I think it's just important to remember too, for those that are thinking about joining, that I'm not just bringing my expertise as an OBM into the space. I'm also bringing my expertise as like being an OBM for other OSPs, being an OBM for other coaches, being you know, and coaching so many OBMs as well too. Every single one of you guys who are an OBM that are in the mastermind, or you have completely different business structures. Not one of your packages, pricing, offers, the way that you run your schedule, your clients looks the same. And so it really is just very strategic, tailored support. But
Yeah.
I'm so excited to like celebrate your just crazy wins and everything that you've shared. Like, all of the health wins to me are like, just, they're way up here. I don't care about the money, but the fact that you're taking like better care of yourself, that's invaluable to me. And so I'm excited to celebrate that and your first 6 figures in sales that you shared the other day, as well as just like, thank you for coming in and chatting about TVA.
Yes, of course. I'm super grateful. I don't know where I would be without TVA, and anybody on the fence is just do it. Like, I mean, like, there is really nothing to lose, especially if you're already thinking about it. You know you want to, and that's your sign right there. Like, and there's probably no way that you're going to be disappointed. So that's my last thing. But thanks for having
Thank
me.
you so much. I'll talk to you later.
Bye, Sydney. Thank you.
Bye.